Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Mut. Our guests today are Dr. William Petrie, who's the director of the Miami-Dade Mosquito Control Division, and Michael Mut, who is the public information officer for the Mosquito Control Division. Did I get that right?
Yeah,
You did. Hello,
Okay.
Hello, Michael.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Now, some people might be like giggling about this because they don't think it's a big deal. But today we're going to be talking about mosquitoes. And it's hard to see this, but we got a whole bunch of mosquitoes here. And Dr. Bill is going to show us and tell us a little bit about mosquitoes.
So some of this may be difficult to see for the camera, but I'm hoping that you'll help us out with
Yes.
that there, Michael. We've got a few things to demonstrate. And our Michael is going to talk more about social media and what's going on with the Florida Mosquito Control Association. But I just wanted to, first of all, talk a little bit about the biology of the mosquitoes. It's simple life history, life cycle.
He's going to humanize the mosquitoes.
So,
It's coming up, folks.
So when you asked me if it was real that you could do a PhD in mosquito biology, and I said yes, I thought about it later, and I thought, thank God my PhD professor wasn't watching, because he would have said it was an evolution. So anyway, back to this. We had hoped to have a cage of flying mosquitoes to demonstrate something else. That's going to have to be
So you put your arm into it.
somebody does.
Somebody's arm.
That's going to have to be the next installment.
I would have done it. I would have
Um,
volunteered.
We're doing it for the team.
Yes, taking one for the team.
here.
Yeah,
So-
those are my children there. My
So I
progeny.
don't have any adult flying mosquitoes, but I want to just quickly go
Sure.
through the life cycle of mosquito. So basically, essentially, it's very different from mammals like humans and horses and cats and dogs, in that insects separate their life cycle stages into growth, feeding and growth, and then separately into reproduction, whereas ours is more of a continuum. So let me start off with the life cycle of mosquitoes. So I've got some mosquito eggs here, and the rafts, that's what we need, the rafts. So Michael, I've got some mosquito eggs for you to look at here.
All right.
Those little black dots.
Where are we? Over there. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there he is.
Okay. So the mosquito eggs on here, which are about, I don't know, it looks like the kids had a Magic Barker episode here.
So they're
Yeah, like pepper
extremely
flecks.
small, little tiny black dots. Each one of those is an egg, a mosquito egg.
Just so you know, this is like the head smaller than a
pinhead.
pinhead, way smaller than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's what would you say? There's thousands of them on there,
Yeah,
Doc?
there's a few thousand on there. Those eggs there actually are eggs of Aedes aegypti, which is a disease vector mosquito, our main disease threat. And
Once they're gone, I don't have to worry about it.
those eggs were produced by mosquitoes which fed on blood from Michael Mut. These are Michael's.
So those are in
Oh,
effect
Michael
my
Douglas.
my little
Did you-
kids there. Thousands of little mouths. on
This
each
one I
tree.
wanted to
Before you
show-
do, so how did they get your blood?
Well, exactly what we were talking about. I literally stuck my hand in a cage that was basically it's like a sock where it stops them from flying out, and then they attack. They're just hundreds of them at a time, taking a blood meal, and I'm just kind of looking away, willing away the hours, the minutes, so to speak, and once a good 10 minutes had gone by and they'd fed enough, then I just took them back out.
And Doc, where do they lay the eggs in if they're in this sleeve?
Well,
takes a while.
we put these in for them to lay their eggs on. And what they will do in nature is they will lay their eggs on something like this or this around the edge.
They don't lay it in the water.
No,
these
near
ones
the
don't
water.
lay on the water. They lay on a surface, a substrate, which means that we can keep them. Now, this one here, for example,
Here, look.
it's
Over
got,
this one?
Here, I'll hold
it's
it.
got many thousands,
Okay.
hundreds of thousands of eggs on it.
On this right here.
on this one right here. You can see it also has a fungus on it, which is one of the pathogens that mosquitoes get that kills them. So there's the eggs. The eggs are flooded with rainfall or garden hose. And then they go through 4 stages of feeding and growth. And I've actually got those 4 stages, which One of our lab techs, Jadira, was able to do for me this morning.
So if they lay it on the rim
Right.
Yes.
and then it floods, then the egg is covered by water at that
Yes.
point.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Then
So-
it hatches.
Then it hatches.
So then go through 4 stages. There are actually larvae in that one, Michael.
There is.
They hatched at 11:30 this morning. So they're not very old. I don't know if you can see them. That's what the magnifying glass is.
Oh, this one you can see plenty.
Okay, so this one you can see too.
There look like there's 20 or 30 in there.
So
40.
you see this one is big.
Oh my goodness.
You see these? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. They're called instars, but they're just 4 developmental stages.
And they just hatched this morning.
Well, the
no,
real
these-
tiny
these-
ones did.
These ones hatched this morning.
And how old are these?
These hatched Thursday or Friday.
So about 4 or 5 days old.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the 4 stages that they go through, basically feeding and growing,
As larvae.
like a caterpillar.
So what do they? So did you take them from there wherever they were to put them in here, or do they hatch in here?
No, I took them from somewhere.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
We collected those as eggs. And in fact, yeah, there's a different type of eggs. Can I have those rafts?
And Joanne from the department is over here. She's participating, actively participating.
Thank you, Joanna. So these are egg rafts. It's going to be very difficult to see those, but each
About
of
as-
those,
Yeah, for the viewers, they're about as big as a grain of rice, but they're actually many different hundreds, if not thousands,
so one of those
grouped
has
together.
maybe 150 eggs.
What is that?
It's an egg raft.
A raft.
So all the eggs are attached to this,
They're
Yeah.
all bunched
floating
up
around
together.
the
Yeah.
bay.
So it's a
Yeah.
different
Wait.
strategy from these eggs. These eggs are laid on a substrate.
Yeah. See this.
These
this,
eggs are laid directly on water.
This is probably a good demonstration. These little miniatures. So it's almost like a bunch of grains of rice stacked together vertically. That's what you're looking at there.
And then the eggs get laid on this. They
Well,
lay-
those are the eggs
These are
themselves,
the eggs.
and
Are
they're
those the-
floating in the water, and then after a while, they will hatch and they'll come out of there. The really small, tiny ones will emerge from there.
But how does this raft, if you will, create what? That's them all together as a
Yes.
group that
That's-
causes that to occur.
In that strategy, compared to this one, these mosquitoes, the female lays her eggs individually,
Yes.
singly in different places. This strategy, the female lays about 100 or 150 eggs all together.
Same
No,
species,
different
different
species.
type,
right.
different strategy altogether. These hatch automatically. These hatch right away almost as soon as they get wet. These you can keep them for. These can last for months or even years. So
Wait,
these-
say that again. These can last for years until what?
until they're flooded.
And then when they get flooded, they hatch?
That's probably what happened in that scenario that you described a little while ago about the property that you went onto
Yep.
and it flooded. Then the mosquitoes
Yes.
emerged.
Yeah.
It's probably what happened. You had a mass emergence there.
Whereas these don't have the specialized eggs like these, so these hatch automatically almost straight away.
So if you're going to go out and you're testing, say if it looks like this is one species, for that for sure. All right, different than that.
Pretty good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the 4 stages, and then you come to the pupal stage, the pupa. Now, if I can just compare it to in butterflies, the butterfly lays her eggs on leaves. The caterpillar feeds and feeds and feeds and grows. It goes through several stages, and then the pupa in the butterfly is a chrysalis that hangs, and
Yep.
then a day or two later, out comes the butterfly. So it's exactly the same in mosquitoes. So the pupa, this lasts about maybe a week. The pupa doesn't feed, it doesn't grow. It just, all the tissues break down and then reforms into the adult mosquito. So this little model here shows an egg raft, and this shows a larva, an immature, essentially like the caterpillar. It goes through 4 stages of this to the pupa, which is a very odd looking thing. They tend to call it a tumbler.
Yeah, I think this camera would be a good one.
This one.
Yeah.
And the fish too. It's a
It
very
almost looks like a
odd-looking
shrimp.
thing. It looks like a comma.
Yeah.
Call them tumblers. They don't feed. they don't do very much except break down all the tissues inside. And then out comes the anatomically correct flying mosquito to.
All right. Inquiring minds want to know why have mosquitoes been around for 30 million years? What function do they serve?
I think they've been around for a lot longer than that, actually.
Well, that's why I failed biology.
We know they've been around that long, but the answer to your question, mosquitoes wouldn't see it as why do they have to have a function. They're making a living in a way that they've adapted to, which is very, very effective and very efficient at reproduction. That's why they do what they do. It's not that they have any intrinsic value or reason for doing what they do any more than elephants do. So I don't know if that answers your question properly, Michael. But
it did, which is that's their function is to reproduce.
Yes.
To eat and reproduce, eat and reproduce. There are some critters that like to enjoy them, eat them. What are some of the critters that eat them?
That's a good point, because there are quite a lot of predators of mosquitoes. Bats will eat them. Dragonflies will eat them. In the larval stages in the water, dragonfly nymphs, the immature dragonflies, will eat them. Tadpoles, we've got some tadpoles. They will eat mosquito larvae, but also mosquito fish. Now, we love mosquito fish. These are gambusia. This is
Mosquito fish.
It's called mosquito fish. The scientific name is gambusia, but we just call them mosquito fish.
And they eat. Their main source of food are mosquitoes.
Well, not necessarily, but
one of the sources.
They do like to eat mosquito larvae. People don't often think that these are not mosquitoes. They don't think it's a mosquito until it's flying.
Okay. So how many of those little critters? What do we call these guys there?
These are larvae.
How many larvae are in there?
A couple hundred, maybe. Not that many in here, but this is one of the predators of mosquitoes, and we like to use mosquito fish. We've used them in abandoned swimming pools. Fountains, construction sites.
What do you mean you use them? You put them into there?
Yes.
And is that the size they stay? Or those little
They get a little bigger. They can get a little bigger.
Like twice the size?
Not quite.
They're about this big?
Yeah, they're little guppies, really.
Yeah, okay.
And what they do, they go for movement. Now, you're not supposed to work with children and animals, right? Because it doesn't always work. But what we're going to try and do is
here goes, folks.
Demonstrate.
Get out the mop.
Demonstrate. I don't want you to do this, Michael.
No.
Michael can do it.
Yeah, sure.
So,
can we get a close up on this, Tommy?
We're going to try and see if
maybe. Yeah, I'd have to lift it. Yeah, if you can train it on the fishbowl and bring it in.
So we just collected these fish earlier on.
Oh, there we go. Do you have them in your lab?
We have some. We have a few, but mainly we get them from canals.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So there's maybe a half a dozen to a dozen larvae in this little dropper here, ladies and gentlemen, and we have about 8 or 9 different fish in the tank. Hopefully they're hungry, and hopefully now they will do what they're supposed to, which is eat these mosquito larvae.
Let's see.
So here we go. Yeah, you can kind of see them swimming up and just chowing down.
Oh, bye.
Do you see them, Michael?
I do. Yep. Oh, there's some. So
they'll have a feeding frenzy sometimes.
They're all focused in one group, at least from what I'm saying over here.
Just pop a whole lot, and then we can watch them.
All right.
The fish are going for movement. They see the movement and they strike. I've actually counted one that ate 40 larvae. Well, she gave up on the 40th one.
40?
Yeah. She couldn't eat the last one. She's got 39 and a half. It's a pretty big female. So these are native to southern Florida. These are from Miami. In fact, these are from Doral. So they belong here. They're indigenous.
And these are in canals.
Yeah. They're pretty tough fish.
Do you introduce them to the canals? I mean, do you want them, or they just reproduce enough to try to control
they
it?
reproduce enough. Some people we've used them in different scenarios.
Yep.
So you're not using pesticide. As I say, they're from here. It's a natural predator, and obviously you can't use them in all sorts of circumstances. But we can use whenever we can use them. We like to do so.
When you mentioned and you put them in pools, explain that.
Well, abandoned pools, if they become a real mosquito breeding problem, one of the good ways to deal with it is to, if the circumstances are right for it, is to put in some mosquito fish, because they breed very quickly as well, and they'll quickly take out the mosquito larvae.
And so when you would put the mosquito guppies, fish, into an abandoned pool, how many would you put in, more or less? Just
as many as we could, half a bucket, more than this, as many as we could.
And how long does it take before you go, oh, I think there's less mosquitoes? I mean,
they would take a few days to do that. So we would also treat with a non-toxic larvicide, something to kill the larvae as well, and then the fish and they'll take a few days to wipe them out. So
when did people start becoming acutely aware of the pesticides that could hurt them and other critters? When did that get a higher awareness?
Rachel Carson's book, I think, in 1962, I guess, or 61, really highlighted and gave such a bad name to DDT and other organic chlorines. There's a lot of overuse of pesticides, mainly in agricultural use. In mosquito control these days, we want to use as many different types of control as possible, as opposed to pesticides. And this is one of the ways that we can do that.
And it's also Earth Day on Thursday, so we thought it would be a good idea to showcase some of the more natural and nature friendly.
It's interesting you bring that up, because in people medicine, you don't go to this gigantic end thing, kill everything. This sort of progresses, so you're not using everything right at the beginning. You try a very progressive type of approach.
So it's called when you taught it at school, it's called integrated control or integrated management. You're trying to integrate as many different control strategies as you can.
Okay, so the Mosquito Control Division has around 300 traps all throughout Miami-Dade County.
320 now.
320?
Right, yeah.
320. And do people call you up and say, hey, listen, we got a problem? Do you know that they have a problem before they call?
Sometimes we can anticipate that there's likely to be a problem. Sometimes we'll anticipate that there's going to be a mosquito problem even before they emerge because of the rainfall or high tides. One of the systems the county uses here is this 311 system where people can call 311 and we get that information. Right? That system works very well.
I know we discussed a couple of weeks ago, but when there was Zika, what year was that?
2016.
Wow, 5 years ago,
yeah.
Right? When we would hear, don't on Miami Beach, here's where they are, and a whole bunch of us ill-informed and misinformed people would say, well, that's silly. The winds are going to blow and they're going to go everywhere. But tell us how they stay in an area, how mosquitoes do that, at least the Zika ones.
Mosquitoes are able to avoid, I've noticed this quite a few times in windy conditions. They avoid high winds. They fly along surfaces, very, very close to surfaces, either a wall or hedgerows, whatever, or they just hunker down. They'll just sit and do nothing until conditions get better. Most insects will do that. There's nothing wrong with them just sitting still for hours or even a couple of days.
So when the reports came back, it was on Miami Beach. Did you when you were testing the areas and the traps, you were able to? It was self-contained. They did that themselves. They stayed within a small area. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. Are you meaning the incidence of disease? Because that mosquito, the mosquito that transmits Zika, it doesn't travel anyway. its own behavior is that according to the textbook, it only travels 50 meters, 50 yards.
From when they were born.
Yes.
And
It doesn't travel very far. And this has been demonstrated with experiments. That particular mosquito doesn't travel far. It doesn't need to. It's born in your backyard, and it only blood feeds on humans, so it doesn't need to go anywhere.
Doesn't have far to go.
and you bring up a good point. Do mosquitoes get blood from any other critters other than people?
Yes, and a lot more than we originally thought too.
Such as?
What these type of mosquitoes will feed on birds, mainly on birds, but they will also bite you and I as well. There are some mosquitoes that will just bite anything. They don't care. The ones that come out the mangrove swamps, they don't care. There are some Joanna and I have seen some film recently of mosquitoes feeding on earthworms, which I'd never seen that before.
Before I forget,
even reptiles.
Okay, right now, these guys, if you put that in water, they would hatch.
Not right away. These are quite old. They would take a couple of days probably to hatch.
And how long have they been on that paper?
These are maybe a year old. More than that. Yeah, a year and a half. These are from January.
And they will, a lot of them would hatch.
Yes, they will. Once they're conditioned properly, they will hatch.
That's amazing. No wonder they survived.
So these eggs are very, very
Tens of
different
millions of years
from these eggs. These are highly adapted to that strategy. The egg shell is highly sculpted and it's very complex, whereas the egg shell of these is just a very simple eggshell.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about Earth Day. All right, which is coming up. That's in a couple of days. All right,
that will be Thursday.
Thursday. There you go. So tell us about Earth Day and the connection to Mosquito Land.
Well, really, Earth Day is just one day this week, and this week just does happen to be the Florida Mosquito Control Awareness Week, and that is a week that we take each year. It's really began last year, but it's a week that we take to showcase what it is we do in the community, how we help residents, and how we strive and work to improve the quality of life. And so essentially that's just a fancy way of saying that we're trying to get out there and we're trying to let people know what we do. And this is thank you for having us today, because it is technically the second day of the Mosquito Control Awareness Week. So we appreciate the opportunity to be on Facebook Live to talk a little bit about and showcase what it is we do.
So I understand the county is very actively involved in social media. So tell us about how people can find out more about mosquitoes and how we're going to start getting bitten any day now.
Sure.
And the good doctor's laughing. Yes, you are.
Yes,
it's coming up.
So we, the Mosquito Control Division keeps 3 pages actively on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram at 305 Mosquito. So I invite everyone to follow us, to like the Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And essentially, if you're already a follower, you know that today we had a Twitter chat where we had some prepared questions that we would tweet out at different intervals, and we would supply answers, and we invite people to kind of try to guess along or answer along. And we were participating and interacting with some partner mosquito control districts. Shout out to the Pasco County Mosquito Control District. Jillian, hello, thank you for all your help today. And so it's essentially an opportunity to have a conversation. On Twitter, just kind of the same way we're doing it here on Facebook Live. We're going to be doing something like this through our at 305 Facebook page tomorrow. We're going to be going live from our mosquito control headquarters. We're going to have a little question and answer session with Dr. Bill and Monique, who you met a couple of weeks back. We're going to continue the conversation then. And Wednesday through Friday, we're going to have different virtual outreach sessions where Monique will be conducting outreach. She's going to teach kids in schools. I think she's having a fireside chat with a Girl Scout troop and our operations director, Dr. Ishik Unlu. So there's just quite a bit going on.
And before I forget, we have a little box with some critters in them, with the mosquitoes with the needles.
Well, actually, we did. Joanna has one box which is part of our collection that Joanna and her team are building up. It's a very difficult thing to do. What Joanna and her could do, they do mosquito identification.
Okay.
Which is a skill as well as an art.
Very fancy box, Joanna.
Very difficult thing to do.
Joanna Medina, ladies and gentlemen. Right. You can't see her, but she's here.
So before we get on to let's again talk about. We know that hurricane season comes in whatever month it is, all right? And there's this acute awareness, hurricane season, go out and cut your bushes, blah, blah, blah. All the TV stations jump all over it, and then they have this hurricane watch.
Right.
I see that one of the things that we're trying to do is raise the awareness for mosquitoes. Now, we know the mosquitoes are year-round, but there's something is about to happen here, all right, to the climate, to the atmosphere, to the weather, that it's going to make the mosquitoes a little bit more of awareness about mosquitoes. So when it starts to rain, April showers bring May flowers and mosquitoes. All right. So how long after big rainstorms is it going to be until we start feeling mosquitoes?
Well, we had our first big one already, didn't we, Dr. Bill?
Yeah, but I think the ground was so dry.
It just soaked up.
It just soaked out. So what we've got at the moment is it appears that it's dry everywhere, but it's actually not dry in storm drains. There you go. There's an example right there. That was collected from a storm drain, and that's full of mosquito larvae.
It is, folks. It's filled.
All the storm drains around where I live in Doral, the place is dry. It's crispy dry, but the storm drains, you can't see it, but that's where these mosquitoes are.
I've got a good one here.
Okay, here goes.
There's also tadpoles to feed. There you go.
Yeah, but I'm attached to the fish.
But once the rains come, the thinking is that the storm drains get flushed out. These mosquitoes become less of an issue, and it switches to a host of other types of mosquitoes, partly the ones from mangrove swamps and other wetlands. Those are the ones that come out in big numbers. But also these, Aedes aegypti, the yellow fever, the dengue, Zika mosquito, and various others which will thrive in pools and puddles. And
so plant nurseries or vegetable gardens, then the ground is wet because people water them all the time, then the rain.
Yeah.
Is that a good place to grow mosquitoes?
Plant nurseries can be.
There's a particular type of plant that we're especially on the lookout for, and one that we advise our residents to be very careful with, because they can become mosquito breeding grounds, and that's the bromeliad. And it's essentially because the leafy structure, the way it's formed, it captures water.
It's hard to kill those guys. That's why they're so popular.
Right.
You just ignore them.
They're tough.
Except for there's like a cup on every one collecting.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately, it's the disease carried mosquito that
They go in there. So what are some of the diseases that we should be aware of that mosquitoes can give us? Because most people don't think it. They think it hurts, so they slap it.
So this isn't the fun side of the mosquito subject, but it is the real side, the very serious side. So this one mosquito that we've been talking about, the eggs of this one, this Aedes aegypti, historically very, very important because of yellow fever. It transmits yellow fever, Zika, and dengue, and chikungunya, and another one called Mayaro, all the same mosquito. However, none of those diseases are indigenous. They're introduced here, and then we have to do something about it. But we do have West Nile virus that was introduced to the United States in 1999.
So
99, Joanna?
So there are diseases, all right, that are with the mosquitoes. How does the county try to control those mosquitoes that can really hurt us?
We focus on those more than anything else, and that's why we have 320 traps around the county, and that's why Joanna and her team go to such lengths to identify these mosquitoes. So we know which are the disease carriers, and we know the types of habitats that they.
And how do you try to control that once you've identified? Here are the critters out there that are causing this problem. Is there? I don't want to say poison, but is there something?
There is a product I mentioned before, which is we're very, very fortunate to have this product because it's called BTI, because it only kills mosquito larvae and blackfly larvae, and it doesn't kill anything else. It's absolutely non-toxic to everything else. Because it's a natural pathogen of mosquitoes. That's why it doesn't kill anything else. So that's our product of choice. That's the most environmentally friendly product that's available at the moment.
And
that kills larvae. That's not killing the flying adults. That's to kill the larvae.
All right. So is that product available to an end consumer? Can you go to a big box store and get it?
Actually, that product, the formulation that we have, that we use, is not. But there is another formulation of the same active ingredient that you can buy in stores to put in bromeliads. Mosquito bits. Yeah?
Right.
That's what it's called, mosquito bits. So it's the same active in BTI, and you can buy that and you can use those around your yard.
Right, and it's not only the big boxes, but I've seen them online. If you just keyword search mosquito bits on Google or whatever your preferred search engine, you see it come up. It's very readily available.
And how long does from the time the larva hatches and becomes a flying mosquito, how long does that mosquito live?
The females, we can know that they live 2 or 3 weeks, possibly a little bit longer.
And the men die real much sooner, 7 years sooner.
3 days, 2 or 3 days.
2 or 3 days.
Well,
You mean they live for 2 or 3 days?
Yeah. It's hard to know exactly in the wild because they're hard to study in nature. But in the laboratory, you can keep the males alive for longer than that. But if you just allow the cage to go through its natural course, the males don't live very long.
So inquiring minds want to know, what do you feed these guys?
These guys?
Well, when we,
these guys, when you have them in your laboratory where you're growing them.
Fish food. Or,
Fish food.
Yeah, or rabbit food, or a mixture of both.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
you pulverize it and you basically make it a dust.
Yeah.
You introduce it and they love it.
and when a mosquito's flying around looking for a place to lay her eggs, do they put their little toes in the water to see if there's vibrations there, to see if there's little critters in there that's going to eat them?
That's a really good question, Michael. And I remember a paper from a long time ago, work that was done in southern Florida, or certainly in Florida, where it really looked as if the female mosquito was able to determine if there were fish in the water, and she would not lay her eggs. I think that was work done up at Vero Beach, Indian River. That was quite remarkable. We know they have chemical sensors on their feet, quite highly sensitive chemical sensors. So it may well be that they're able to detect.
In the animal, they're not quite an animal, but animals detect that all the time. Snakes know what's going on. Birds know what's going on. And you can see four-legged critters like searching all around and making sure, that there's nobody out there to eat them up. But if we can we look in that box? I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get a shot so we can show the work that Joanna and her team has done, which is to provide, I'm sure people have seen this type of thing all the time, right?
So this is what you would see in a museum. In a proper a scientific collection. This is a skill. First of all, identifying them, and then pinning them.
Each one of those are identified, the type of species, and there's a pin that's holding them into the ground, and they can last a long time there.
Yeah, I mean, there's ones in the British Museum, some of the collections, and in the Smithsonian, which are over 100 years old. Some of them much more than that.
And Joanna, you've done some of this yourself.
Actually,
The lab techs do. So they have to be pretty skilled and nimble, right?
Yeah. It's a
Bill and I, we'd have a hard time doing that, Doc.
It's a difficult.
It's really extraordinary, all right? It's really extraordinary. There are about 50 different types, and then you identify them, all right? And then you have the names on here of some sort.
Yeah, everyone's named and dated and the location.
And location, meaning where you got them from?
Yes.
Where the trap was located, where we found it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So you guys really know a couple weeks or ahead of time where there's too many. Would you say too many mosquitoes? Can you determine that?
We have what we call high trap counts.
Yeah, there's some that are hotter than others, so to speak.
So when that happens, do you do nothing? Do you wait for people to complain, or you say we have a problem out there?
No, in fact, even just this morning, one of our operations superintendent came to Joanna to say what happened to the high trap count from Friday. Oh, they're a little bit late. Here they are. She wanted to know because she wants to see if there are high trap counts somewhere, so she would take action.
And what action might the department take if you say there's a high trap count and it's been that way for a week or 2 or 3?
Probably using the buffalo turbine to apply the BTI product that I mentioned. But
Buffalo termite. Is that the truck?
It's a piece of equipment that's loaded onto the back of a truck. So it's essentially a glorified blower, and what it does is it's connected to the mechanism that regulates the droplet size. So it's already mounted with 100 gallons of the BTI mixed in water. And so then this mechanism blows it up into the air and it wafts over.
And do people applaud when you go out? Do they stand up?
They don't see us.
They don't see it. That's
they
done
don't see
at
us.
night. That's done in the wee small hours, so
Yeah.
people tend not to notice. But in answer to your question, though, Michael, if it's a problem with adult mosquitoes, that BTI doesn't affect those. It kills their babies. So to kill the adults, you have to use a different.
And if you were going to
Problem.
guess how many phone calls you would get in on any given day, week during the season, if you will, how many might that be? Somebody says,
Well,
let's
we get a
work.
daily report.
Yeah.
So we're watching these numbers fluctuate day by day. So during, like right now, I think over the weekend it tends to slow down because people are out and about running errands. They're not focused on the problem. So you'll get a single digit. You'll
We
get
had
seven.
We had 7 yesterday.
Seven, right?
Yeah.
You'll get 6, but then sometimes, like particularly
Calls,
after a heavy
calls.
rain, calls, right? Calls, or people can go through miamidade.gov /mosquito, or they can download and install a number of apps to request county services. So we'll get 20, we'll get 15. You'll see a heavy rain come through. They'll notch up to 30 calls. Sometimes when it was really out of control at some point, you'll hit the triple figure in a daily request count. And that's high.
All right. So we have this tennis racket that's battery operated, it zaps them. It seems to work when we're having fun, except for it's hard on the wrist after a while.
Yeah.
All right. So people can do that if they're sitting there. How about those little ultraviolet lights with the juice in it that draws them in?
Citronella.
He's talking about the ultraviolet lamps
works.
the ones that are kind of
Oh,
the
the
purplish
zapper,
light,
yeah,
the
that will
zappers.
bring them in and then zap them. But
You're
if you
going to
don't-
zap moths, and you're going to zap, a bunch of other bugs that really don't bother you.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're not target
So,
specific. Plus, if
really-
you don't have the light there, they may not come in the first place.
Yeah.
Um,
If I may, Michael, to get back to the Florida Mosquito Control Awareness Week, we have different themes that we're promoting each day through social media. Today happens to be the day where we're talking about our drain and cover program. And that essentially gets to the heart of what you're asking, which is what can you do to protect yourself? And essentially drain and cover means the drain part is you eliminate any standing water. Drain standing water you find, whether it's from irrigation, you ran your sprinklers a little too long, or you had one of those famous rain showers that we're about to start getting on a daily basis. Get rid of the water that accumulates in your yard. That doesn't allow the mosquitoes, especially the invasive type that we've been talking about, the Aedes aegypti, to lay their eggs, to go through their life cycle. You're cutting them off at the pass, essentially. Drain. Cover refers to cover your skin or cover your flesh. Wear a long sleeve shirt. I realize that temperatures now are trending into the 80s and 90s, so it's kind of impossible to wear, but use an EPA registered mosquito repellent. The one that we say works best is the one that has DEET in it.
So do mosquitoes grow in people's lawns?
No.
They
None
don't
of the
grow.
lawns in a container
Right.
found in your lawn.
Right. I
A
understand.
tree hole.
But in bushes like areca palms, are they hiding in
They
there?
need the standing water.
They
They have to have the standing
They-
water.
They'll take shelter in your arecas or your little cherry bushes. They'll rest there, especially after they've hatched or after they've mated. But they need the standing water. They need the water source.
So if somebody has like rocks in their front yard, design rocks, and it's raining and there'll be water there for a couple days, all right? And
It's got to be 7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days of water there.
Right, because
Well,
they have to
these-
go through their cycle.
well, these can do it in 5.
Right, it
especially
doesn't.
if it's hot.
It does depend on the
Um,
temperature, doesn't it?
But also, some species like the Aedes aegypti, the disease one that we've been talking about, it will lay its eggs in very, very small containers. I had a couple of hundred in one of these little coffee cups, little Cuban coffee cups. The other ones will lay their eggs in a different strategy altogether. The mosquito doesn't want to. These mosquitoes, she doesn't want to put all her eggs in the same place.
So they lay them in different places.
Yes.
Survival is amazing. Is there a particular height that they like to, will they go 10 feet up if there's a container of water, or do they like to?
That's a good question, though. People have looked into that, and we found recently, or in the past couple of years, that mosquitoes were actually breeding up in construction sites in buildings, going up floors, which hadn't been found before. That was a little bit surprising. They tend not to. Most mosquito species tend not to go very high in altitude, although some that feed on birds, you can get them in the treetops. The mosquito that comes out of the Everglades in vast numbers, it can rise above the trees and then move and travel long distance.
I mentioned the last show, was down on a tree farm with longans and with some friends. I'm driving the golf cart and they said, "Can I pick some longans?" I said, "Sure, I'm going to wait right here." And I'm in the sun and they go and they pick it, and literally hundreds of mosquitoes, right, were there because it was nice and dark.
Yeah.
They like the nice and dark areas. And when they're there, they're just hiding out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And they're waiting for what to occur.
That particular mosquito, that's an interesting one because it has an activity period, a biting time, which is very sensitive to, it actually is 15 minutes after sunset, it becomes active. It also has an activity period at dawn. It's dawn and dusk, but the main one is just after the sun has set, it's activated by the rate of decline of lux, to use an old term. The light changes color as it goes to orange and red, and that they become activated. All of them all at the same time.
So mosquitoes are all around the yard. It's that time, with the sunset. Where are they getting the blood from?
That's only the one I'm talking
Yes.
From you, Michael. From you.
Are there enough?
That's only the one from the mangrove. This one here is a day biter. It will bite anytime during the day, especially in the afternoon.
So we got plenty morning, noon, night.
You got lots of choice.
But out of for the lifespan of these mosquitoes, how much of their blood comes from humans? All of it? 80%, 90%? Do you have any idea?
Some species feed only on humans. So the Aedes aegypti, the disease carrier, only feeds on humans, at least predominantly.
And how far away will a mosquito, can they sense you and come after you?
They can sense quite a distance. They sense carbon dioxide. It's
5 feet, 10 feet?
Oh, no, further than that. Yeah, 30, 40 feet.
Mm.
CO2. Then they detect heat, body heat. They have sensors for heat.
So some of those cartoons were accurate.
Yeah.
When they showed the mosquito going across the room.
Yeah, they follow a carbon dioxide.
They must have liked your arm. That's all.
And,
I loved it.
and then body heat, and then also they pick up scent as well, body odor. They'll home in on that as well.
And how do mosquitoes respond to deodorant or cologne, perfume, things like that?
Some mosquitoes do not like those kind of things, repellents. Michael mentioned repellents with deep. Now, if you don't like putting it on, you can spray it on a hat, for example. It will put them off. The mosquito that comes out the Everglades, I haven't seen a repellent that stops it.
Okay, I want to know on Naked and Afraid, when they have these people with no shoes and essentially no clothes walking through the Everglades or Africa or South America, and I see some of them get all bit up all the time. Seems sort of dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah, I wondered about what possible disease might be transmitting there, but I think they're more likely to get ants. They're probably getting chewed by ants.
Oh, all right.
As much as mosquitoes, Michael.
Well, it's a tough world out there. I think we got a couple minutes left. So tell us again about the what's going on this week with the Florida Mosquito Control Awareness Week.
So there is another Twitter chat that's going on tomorrow at noon. If your viewers are interested in joining us, they could follow at Florida Mosquito. And that is the Twitter account for the Florida Mosquito Control Association, which is the parent organization of the Florida Mosquito Control Week. But we'll be participating also. So if you follow at 305 Mosquito, you'll be able to jump on the Twitter chat. We'll be doing also a Facebook Live from Mosquito Control tomorrow. And there'll be virtual outreach sessions that'll be around Wednesday through Friday.
And at what age do you think little kids can conceive of this concept of mosquitoes?
Well, we're in the elementary schools where we get them as young as kindergarten.
That is wonderful.
Right.
Young kids love putting mosquito larvae into
Yeah.
the fish.
And you could see big kids
And,
like
so,
myself.
and so does Michael.
Well, I spent the
Absolutely.
better part of the last half hour doing it myself.
We've seen that.
I'm the
we've
angel
seen
of
that
death,
before with
ladies and gentlemen.
Little kids and dads,
Yeah.
like to put
Yeah, my son loves. He loves to participate in that also.
So Joanna, would you come over here so we can get a picture? You can say
Come
hi
on
to
over here,
everybody
Joanna.
All right.
Do my mask or-
You can
Have
take
you
it
had
off.
your
right-
Pfizer? Have you had your 2 shots?
My first one.
Ooh, I don't know.
So
Come
Well,
on
do it.
over. I'm kidding.
So
There she
introduce you
is.
and tell us what you do, Joanna.
I'm one of the biologists. I'm in charge of the laboratory technicians. Basically, what we do is all the surveillance. We identify all the mosquitoes. We ship all our mosquitoes for testing
that's another thing.
to laboratory, FTAX, Bronson Lab, Tampa Lab, so they can do the testing for us. And we do
What diseases?
insecticide resistance. We do different projects, participate with different universities in different research projects, share data with universities also for publication of papers.
Mhm.
So we do all of that.
That's wonderful. These are some of our unsung heroes, folks, that take care of us long before we know that we need help. So thank you, Joanna.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
Okay.
there is one more piece that I
Yes,
would
sir.
like to discuss, and that is something we're gonna be putting out. So you're gonna hear it here first. Next Thursday, that's April 29th, we're gonna have our peak mosquito season press conference, where our wonderful mayor Daniela Levine Cava, she'll be with us. She'll actually be talking about the time of year that you've alluded to, which is now May through October, which is when we get daily rainfall, it seems. So she'll be giving us some pointers on what we can all do to protect ourselves and talk a little bit about what we do as well. So that's going to happen next Thursday. So we're going to put out the official announcement this Thursday, the 22nd, on Earth Day.
And if folks want to find out more about mosquitoes, I know you already know, but tell us how they can access it again.
Come on over to miamidade.gov/mosquito. There you'll find links to all of the information that we've been discussing today. You'll have a means to submit a service request if that's what you're needing from us. You need for an inspector to come out and check your property. If you're having a particular issue with mosquitoes, you get in touch with us through there. You have links to all the other county accounts. Our parent account, the Solid Waste, Miami-Dade County Solid Waste Management Division. You'll be able to find out more about there. And so really, that's it. You call 311, visit miamidade.gov/mosquito, or download and install one of the many wonderful county mobile apps.
And Dr. Bill, thank you so much for being here and for sharing this amazing stuff. All right. I hope the kiddies really enjoy this. And I'm like him over there. I'm really intrigued by this
On
stuff.
the out, I'm gonna keep
I have
feeding
no
them.
problem doing that for hours at a time. Thank you for your years of service to all of us. Michael Mut, thank you. Joanna, thank you. And Tommy, thank you for what you do. Folks, again, this is Live with Miami's Community News, and we're out of here.